the pressure's gotten turned up as this race season's wound on.
Tyler Reddick has won it here in Daytona. It's Ryan Preece. He takes the checkered flag.
Justin Allgaier is going to come from behind and win in Mid-Ohio.
Heck yeah.
Christopher Bell will win 3 in a row.
It's pretty cool, man. I'm just kind of speechless.
What a finish. We'll look at just some of the action so far in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2018. And now they come to Road America. Final practice about to get started from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. I'm Dave Burns, joined by Hall of Fame driver Dale Jarrett. Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle are in the garage area this afternoon for final practice. 80 minutes scheduled for this practice, and the weather conditions are perfect now. Rain moved through earlier, pretty much squashing first practice. However, 2 cars did take to the track, Dale, as the raindrops fell.
Yes, and this was the highlight here. No, that's not the highlight. Certainly, teams getting ready and preparing, deciding who's going to go out, who's not. But Tyler Reddick was out and got a little braver as he made a couple of laps and got into the corner a little too hot there.
Connor Daly driving for the first time in NASCAR, one of the Roush Fenway Racing Fords, and he took a few laps on the track as well. Really a shakedown for a guy that has driven lightweight race cars most of his life to get into a heavy stock car.
Yeah, even in those conditions, it just gave him a feel of it, and looking at the track and understanding, going through the gear pattern as far as shifting goes, and understanding the braking just a little bit. So and that the tires aren't nearly as wide as what he's accustomed to driving on.
Now we're going to have some fun, and Daniel Hemmer's going to have some fun too, Parker.
That he is. But you know what? Before we get into that, I saw you discussing some things, maybe chatting and laughing over there with another Hall of Famer that's here this weekend, because we got Dale Jarrett on the broadcast. Bill Elliott's in the 23. What were you guys discussing?
How cool is it he's here, for one?
It's awesome.
Yeah, Brendan was saying that he was going to give him a donut, and Bill says, man, give me 2. And by the way, if you go by me and my face is as red as my car, you know I'm already used up. But no, we're just all of us here. We're extremely honored to be able to share the racetrack with a Hall of Famer and Bill Elliott. How cool is that? Have a lot of family that said, hey, we want to go to Road America. But it wasn't to come see me race. It was to come watch Bill. So we're having fun with it. Hopefully we can get on the racetrack here at Southwind Hotel Casino Chevrolet, and hopefully it's got as much speed as Xfinity's internet service, and we can have a solid practice and make some gains.
And you and I were just looking at the state of the racetrack, kind of assessing it. Obviously, we had the rain in the first session there. Not many people went out. And now we're watching it dry. Do you want to be one of the first ones out? Are you going to see what the racetrack has, that sort of thing?
The place is so abrasive on tires. The racetrack's going to be fast if it is completely dry everywhere. But I like to see kind of a benchmark of where speed is with these bodies and where the tire fall off and all this stuff is. So we'll wait a couple minutes, let those guys, at least clean it off for us. And Bill's lined up. He's ready to clean it off. So it's going to be cool to keep up with that story, and we'll be able to get on the racetrack here pretty quick.
So it's not a very big rush down here for the 21 car, Landon.
Yeah, Parker, but the most important thing for this practice session is even though only 2 cars have made track, the rest of the field has effectively missed practice. So time management is going to be important for these teams and drivers right now, figuring out, are we going to make a qualifying run? How many sets of tires are we going to do? And which adjustments were on our wish list that we wanted to try are we actually going to get to for this entire practice session?
Landon, appreciate it. Appreciate having all of our drivers involved in the broadcast here today. At some point, Dale, I'm just going to step away and let y'all just discuss.
Well, we will, and then I'll be asking questions because these guys actually know what it's like running there, unlike me, who've just been around there in a pace car. Yep, done that bit.
How about the look of this race car, Dale? What's it remind you of?
Oh, Bill Elliott in Junior Johnson's number 11. How about that?
Yep. Did his own throwback scheme a week ahead, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. I understand Chase is up there spotting for him, so kind of repaying the favor. I don't know if he can give him as much good information as Chase got from his dad at Watkins Glen.
No, that was funny. I read about Chase this week and listened to him on the NASCAR and NBC podcast with Nate Ryan talking about how it was weird giving my dad track advice. But,
Yeah.
Chase has raced here in the Xfinity Series. Bill never has.
Yeah.
There we see the Hall of Famer and 1988 champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. And he's been racing. He's raced some Trans Am cars, raced some vintage cars. Says this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. But we look forward to it. And, it's funny, too, because people would just tell Bill, hey, I'm okay with whatever you do. I just want to go see you race. He's so beloved by the sport.
Oh, he really is. And yeah, that's right from the very beginning of his career, and it's carried on to this point. It's just incredible, the fan base. And, you know, he's been such a great ambassador for the sport, along with the great competitor.
And there he goes. And he'll have rookie stripes like the yellow stripes on Tyler Reddick's car. If you're racing for the first time at this track, you get those stripes, and Bill's 23 will have those as well.
Yeah, I assume he gets that rookie extra set of tires too.
I was told yes.
Hopefully he's not needing them.
Well, there is tire wear here at Road America, so if he wants to go on and bolt on another set for a flyer lap, that's all right. He's got them. Tyler Reddick, we showed you a little off-track excursion in practice number 1. Everything back together there under the leadership of Dave Ellens and the Junior Motorsports crew. And Tyler said he didn't really get into the turn that hot. He just applied the brakes maybe a little harder than he had in the past.
Yeah, he got the brakes, and then as he went to downshift, he actually kicked it into neutral, so there was nothing helping to slow the car down there from the transmission side of it. So everything kind of worked against him. I think they had to do a little repair on the splitter. That was all that the damage was, and got that ready, and he'll get out here on a dry racetrack and see how it is.
So here we go. We are excited to take you to Road America. This is the NASCAR Xfinity Series final practice. Dave Burns and Dale Jarrett looking things over from up top, and Parker and Landon sharing their thoughts from down below. Paz Grala, a driver who is very familiar with road course racing from his history, one of the first on track.
Yep. And I thought Landon made a great point about, okay, now you've got to rethink what you were going to do. You came here expecting to have 2 practices, some things to try to make your car better and be able to go through a little checklist. Now you had to narrow that down. You still have 80 minutes worth here, but when you have a 4-mile racetrack, just getting out, getting up to speed and running a couple of laps, coming back in, making changes, you don't get that many runs and attempts at it. So you really have to narrow your focus down as to what you want to try.
You and I have been talking about the numbers on such a large track. The numbers get very small when you start talking about laps. 45 laps total for the race, in the single digits as to when you made pit for the last time. The winner pitted with 9 laps to go last time, which sounds like hardly anything, but that was still 36 miles.
Yeah, 36 miles, 14 corners to make up time in with fresher tires. So it all worked out, provided a great finish there. You can see right along here with Ryan Truex with the helmet cam that we've got, giving you a good view of what he's facing. Of course, we're seeing this for the first time just as he is in a race car.
Hey guys, as we ride on board here with Ryan Truex, what an awesome view. But one thing he'll probably be paying attention to, we just had the Robbie Gordon Stadium Super Truck Series on this track before, and they actually go off-road and they jump around this racetrack and they bring a lot of dirt and stuff around. So talking to some drivers, they were going to go out there and scout the racetrack. Not only are we dealing with rain earlier, knowing this track is dry, but also it being really dirty, especially down here in turn 2. If you look to the right of him, there'll be a little bit of dirt there through his visor cam there, so helmet cam. So I think there's just a couple things that these drivers are looking at on top of everything else, knowing how clean this racetrack is.
Yeah, those trucks definitely went at it. We have had the pleasure of having some cameras out there and watching a little bit of it. It's quite interesting. They were definitely off in the dirt a little bit.
And Robbie won the race, so yeah, it all worked out well for the owner of the series.
It did.
Oh, and guys, I just have to add, Daniel Hemrick said we should just leave the jumps out there for the Xfinity cars. See who's brave enough.
Like that. Yeah, there were, 3, maybe 4 on track?
Yeah.
That was exciting. I don't think the suspension and the travel is quite going to work here with a NASCAR Xfinity car. Built to be low to the ground and drive like a go-kart, only it's 3,500 pounds plus. There's the carousel, that long right-hander that Truex just took us through.
Really tough part of this track. It's kind of what a driver would call off camera. You're going away from exactly what it's on the side that you are as the driver, and it makes it difficult because it really sits you over in the seat, but you're having to really power up.
There is the awesome one. Deal was put together basically by a suggestion from his son Chase, who has driven this car a number of times since Spencer Gallagher stepped out of it, not indefinitely, but said, hey guys, why don't you put my dad in it? Bill said basically they told me, hey, we're going to put you in it. Can I talk you out of that? No, you're doing it. We've already announced it. So Bill's excited about it.
It'd be interesting to watch as his time, as he makes laps and gets a little more, back accustomed to the car a little bit. Just what kind of speed he can get out of the car. You know he's an outstanding road racer.
Mm-hmm. His only win in the Xfinity Series came at Riverside in 1993. Plus, he did, as you mentioned, very well in a Cup car, turning right and left. So is this guy. What a year for Justin Allgaier. And took it to him at Mid-Ohio a couple weeks ago.
Sure did a great job. Actually, he turned what looked like some misfortune of getting spun out late in the race there, coming out of the last corner, and turned that around to a different strategy play by Jason Burdett, and called him in to get some tires, and then made a bold move down in turn 2 to go make it 3 wide on the outside, which he had tried one other time that didn't work out so well, but didn't let that change his mind any when the opportunity presented itself again, and that really propelled him by getting 2 cars at one time. It got him right to the leader then.
See the car shake as he applies those brakes. DJ goes through the gears.
Yeah, he just, he does a great job of attacking these road courses without looking like that he's totally out of control with it. And you see the car move around and everything, but it really doesn't. It's not like that he's spinning it sideways everywhere and using up the tires as much. So just a really cool look. The bumper cam here and taking it right along up over there. You can't even see. This is coming up to the start-finish line. And really fast part of the track right here. See how fast you can get. 170, 171 miles per hour. Hard braking and downshifting.
Are you guys talking about Justin Allgaier and how smooth he is on these road courses? Well, I think Road America is a unique road course, and Justin and I were talking earlier about the carousel and about the tire fall off at Road America. That's just a whole other variable for these race teams to plan on, not only in the race and how the crew chiefs call the race and the race strategy, but in practice right here. They're managing the runs that they're making, how much time is falling off for the car, and how the driver can kind of take that into consideration of how much I need to be complaining about my car. Is it the tires falling off, or the adjustments making the car better or worse? And Justin, being a stock car guy, is someone that is really good at being able to manage those expectations as the tires get more and more laps on them.
You can see there that really puts a lot of pressure as he's trying to power up there, lifting the left front up. Now around the carousel, there's a whole other area that is very critical again in carrying speed around there. Yeah, you could take it and just kind of ease your way around there, but you're going to find yourself getting put in a bad position as you go down a short straightaway approaching the next corner.
And DJ, I just have to add one other thing you're doing on the exit of that carousel. You're upshifting to third. Some drivers do it early, so they get to the center and they kind of do an early upshift. Or some, like myself, I would always carry second gear really long, and then right at the last second as the car is completely unsettled, I'd shift up to third. And I think there's just one more variable you have around that really long right-hander.
Hey, Parker, does that remind you a little bit of coming out of basically turn 5 at Watkins Glen, the way that you drive that corner?
Exactly. No, you're spot on. The carousel we have there, as we term it as well, it's the same thing. The only thing here, I think, is the difference is that we just feel like we're in it longer, and it has a little less banking, per se, as the Watkins Glen one. So the car tries to move around more, and you just go a little bit slower, and you feel like you're in it for a longer period of time. You just see Cole Custer doing that right now than you do maybe the Watkins Glen one.
You know, Parker, you mentioned such a good point about the upshift coming out of the carousel, because you have to have long arms. You're turning the car right, but you're also having to shift from second to third, which is the opposite direction of where the car's pulling your body. So I've always, just like you, I always like to carry second gear for as long as I can, so that I can at least try to get that upshift while I'm going straight and not yanking my body the opposite direction of where I'm trying to shift.
Are you saying I have long arms? DJ, can you I got long arms apparently, according to Landon.
Yeah,
that's good to know. Thank you.
That's good to know. Yeah, well, that's good to know and have, because that sounds like a total recipe for a bad shift to go into first instead of third gear, which then is going to blow the engine up.
That sounds scary. Let's not talk about that. I'd have nightmares about that.
You guys are good road racers. Y'all don't do that. That would be something I would do.
I wouldn't be able to sleep thinking about that situation.
Well, how was it last year before the race? You had a top 10 here last year, Parker.
I did, and actually, funny enough, I lost the ball on the shifter in like the first 5 laps. Which the team actually, one guy from the team reminded me the other day, and I'd forgotten about that. So I had a short period of time where I thought it was going to be a very long race, where I was going to have a massive blister on my hand, because you would be basically holding on to a screw that's on top and the threads instead of an actual ball on the shifter. So that was interesting, and we had some brake issues, but the thing is about this racetrack that Landon alluded to is the tires fall off so much here that, equipment isn't as big a factor late in a run. And actually talking to guys like Andy Lally, if he wants to compete with that car that James Davison has right there for Joe Gibbs Racing, who's probably going to be one of the fastest cars here, he can do that if he takes care of his tires, takes care of his equipment over the long run. And that's why, Dave, you were talking about the strategy. That's why you see a car pit with 9 laps to go, and that's the winning strategy, because the tires fall off so much here.
Well, let me ask you drivers, okay? And I'm asking you drivers to be crew chiefs now. So Danny Gill, the crew chief who won last year with Jeremy Clements, basically said, I'm going to put the red flag out here, car off track apparently. It's going to be in turn 5. There's a car with a tire down, it looks like, or has had some contact. No, and it is last year's winner, Jeremy Clements. Let's get back to my commentary in a minute. Let's find out what happened to Jeremy.
Yes, either that left front tire is down, or he's got something that...
That's the top of the hill going into the left-hander turn 6. He's come through 5 and has gone under the bridge and stopped right there. There he is.
I hope it's something as simple as just a tire down, which is, you don't want to drive. We talked about how long this is, but hopefully it's not a piece that is broken in the suspension there. Could have just locked it up, and it might have blown the tire out then.
That's coming into 5. Locks it up. No, left front down. Yeah, definitely. And confirmed right there. He is so excited to get to Road America this weekend with a 4-year-old car.
Yes. Because
he won last year with a 10-year-old car. So the point I was making, his crew chief, Danny Gill, said, okay, so we long pitted on that stage last year, basically waited, put our tires on, and then we had fresher rubber than a lot of other cars and a lot of speed in our race car. He said they're going to see us coming with that this year. So yeah, that's kind of like in Hunt for Red October when the Russian submariner shoots a torpedo and it just bounces off the Red October, and Sean Connery says he won't make that same mistake twice because he didn't take the safeties off yet.
Yes.
So Gill says everyone's going to see that strategy now, and I'm going to ask you drivers, what do you think? Do we see a lot of cars waiting till 9, maybe even 8 laps to go? You kind of have to look at the fall off, don't you, Dale, in terms of what you're seeing against the field?
I think it's going to be different for everybody. They might have seen that strategy worked for Jeremy Clements in that situation, but it was is it a situation that's still not our best strategy, that my car is still good enough to make 2 stops and be good enough on the tires that it's going to take something pretty miraculous to beat me if you make a 3rd stop?
Yeah, that's a good point, Dale. I think that it's on one hand, it's very situational because there's going to be a lot of different scenarios. But on the other hand, Dave, you're absolutely right. It is on these teams' radars because I talked to Chris Gabehart before practice started, and he told me that he watched what that 51 car did last year to win this race and the strategy they made. And that is on his list in his playbook of potential strategies, as he thinks that this could be a 3-stop race and playing the tire fall-off strategy to get himself some track position at the end.
3 stops won last year. 3 stops took first, second, fourth, and fifth, Dale. Yeah. Where 2 stops only bested with third and sixth and ninth. So you got to kind of look at that and say,
Yeah, it definitely is something to look at. And if more people get involved there, Park, it's going to make it a more difficult. And then you kind of put it in the hands of your driver that he's got fresher tires, right?
Well, I just want to jump in and say you're missing another strategy that finished 10th. We just took left side tires. I mean, it wasn't the best strategy. I think we did it because we were trying to spend as little time on pit road because of where we were at that point. But no, I think it is. It's interesting, and it's definitely a question mark throughout this garage is what is the right move there? What do you value? Track position over tires over track position? At what point of the race do you consider those things to be an advantageous position? And I think that's something we'll be looking forward to tomorrow. So you got to watch, of course, right?
Well, of course. Well, and Parker, the other thing to think about with that is at Road America, I think that these teams believe that with fresh tires, because of the long straightaways, it's going to be easier for the drivers to get through the field and to make passes as opposed to a place like Mid-Ohio that has a lot of really slow corners where even if you have fresher tires, if you give up that track position, it's hard to make passes at Mid-Ohio even if you're a second faster than the car in front of you, where I think that they believe that they can make those passes a lot easier here at Road America.
Hey, Parker, so I forgot that you just took those left side tires, and to quote a driver that's outstanding at Bristol the other night, that he took a torn-up race car and drove all the way to the front, and he said that was all him. I'll have to say that was all you last year to get that 10th place.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, you know what? I'm gonna take that accolade. I'm not even gonna send it away. Thank you very much. It was all me. Thank you, everyone. If you could see me right now, I'm waving to the fictional crowd around me.
Hey, make sure you add the before that. That was all me. Love Kyle.
Exactly. That's all me, of course.
All right, under the red for Jeremy Clements, who has had misfortune with a downed left front today. That wasn't the case last year. It was his glory day. He had raced in the Xfinity Series for a number of years and was always looking for an opportunity. And we knew Jeremy to be a pretty good little road course racer.
Diving down to the inside. Locks up the wheels and slides. Now the leader turns around.
I wish we could have raced it out to the last lap. Obviously, you're furious at being taken out.
Jeremy Clements has found his way into the playoffs by winning at Road America.
Everything we got is old and used. This is a car built in 2008. I'm shocked. I didn't even know what to do. So, woo!
When in doubt, woo.
That's right.
First road course, or first Xfinity Series win on a road course. You can see the list is long, and there's Jeremy down at the bottom. See who's at the top there too.
Mm-hmm. Man, it's in this race. That would be quite the span of years to get your maybe first and last Xfinity win. Who knows?
You know what I'd like to see is the GPS on how they're taking Jeremy's car around the track to get it back to the garage area, because there's only a few ways you can do it, and there are some that are quite a bit quicker than others. But it looks like it's going to involve some gravel and hopefully not too much damage there, Parker.
Well, Dave, I've actually had to spot here before, and where they were taking his car, I got lost in a golf cart. I've definitely been lost over there. I know it for a fact. I don't know where they're taking him right now. But, hey, guys, I'm going to try and get Justin Allgaier here in a second. He's right behind me. I think he's going to get done debriefing. I'm watching your hands, all right? And you're making all these motions. Like, what do all these mean?
I talk with my hands a lot. Just explaining the braking zones and the platform of the car. That's something that when we go to an oval, normally the platform is more so what they can see. As a driver, we don't feel the platform a whole lot on an oval. But when you come to a place like here, Road America especially, that platform and how the car brakes and how it reacts to the corners is a big deal. So obviously right now our Brent Fresh agriculture Chevy is really good. Great first lap. We just got to make sure that it'll do that for an entire race, and we'll be in great shape tomorrow.
And, all right, you're allowed to illustrate your hands during this interview, by the way. You can talk with your hands. Let's talk about what this car does as the run goes on, because you have that fast lap on new tires. Now what are you searching for as the tires fall off?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just grip. This place is notorious for having forward drive, lacking forward drive, especially as you get into a run, the tire pressures come up. It's really easy to spin the tires, and that's what we were just discussing. The balance of the car, whether it be loose or tight, doesn't necessarily always dictate whether you have forward drive or not. So kind of managing those two different things and understanding that there are going to be challenges on both fronts. I got a great team here at Junior Motorsports. Obviously, they've done their homework. We have a fast Camaro today, but on the flip side of it too, I think it's trial and error. I've been fortunate enough to run well here and have it go good and bad, and then on the flip side, they've been fortunate enough to run well here and have it go good and bad. So combine those notes together, and hopefully you find the hot ticket that you're going to have here in the race.
And just a little tip: the international sign that your car is ready for you, they put the hood down.
That is true. They always, when the hood goes down, it's like, okay, that's time to go get in. So I didn't know if I needed to get out or not after that first run. I felt like it was a good enough first lap. Get out to catch my breath a little, make sure that it wasn't a fluke, and see what happens from here.
Decompress a little bit.
Right.
All right, you can go back. We'll let you go drive it again, guys. So yeah, he's done decompressing. Maybe they'll see if they have that speed over the long run.
Parker, that's perfect. And by the way, folks, you're listening to drivers talking about what drivers are doing. Parker Kligerman, Landon Castle down in the garage area for us this afternoon. Dale Jarrett up here with me, and I'm learning. I did not know that the universal sign for get back in the car
pretty much
out the hood.
Yeah. They like for you to be walking that way whenever they start putting that hood down. Before they get the pins in, you should be over there ready to climb in, if not already climbing in. So, and that was Jason Burdett, his crew chief there, that was talking with me, debriefing a little more.
And guys, I just have to chime in there. Now that's the sign the car's ready. It's time to move. DJ, the real international sign that you need to be getting into the car is when it starts to come off those jack stands.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you start to see them put the jack in and they lift it off the jack stands, that's international. Get ready and get in this car.
Yeah, my guys have to know that when that hood goes down, I'm moving. So they've been trained that that you can't have anybody underneath the back of the car finishing up any adjustments and put the hood down at the same time.
Because you're already rolling. Castle is on it. Elliott Sadler's on it, giving us this great view. The Hunt Brothers Pizza foot cam.
Yeah, Elliott gave us some great footwork back at Mid-Ohio, so we should ride along with him and see his technique here again. See, not using the clutch at all.
You see his foot when he goes into this braking zone, how hard his initial brake pressure will be when he goes into this initial braking zone. The technique is different than it used to be, where drivers would right foot brake and use the clutch with their left foot. As the transmissions have gotten better over the years, we can brake with our left foot and you can shift without a clutch.
Yeah, used to do what was called when I started, it was a heel and toe, basically. You move that brake pedal over towards the gas pedal, and you would actually, some guys put their heel on the brake and use their toe to hit the gas pedal to make the downshift to match up the RPMs. I personally used my toe on the brake and my heel to hit the gas pedal, that I would do it in that direction at times. So I went back and forth trying to move pedals around to see which was better, which was more comfortable, and I could attempt to do it a little smoother. There wasn't much smooth about me inside that race car on the road course. A little trouble for Kaz Gralla here.
That was not smooth. Canada Corner claims another.
Got that sand.
I will say that's the second car that's been able to back out of a sand pit, though.
Yeah. I think with the rain that they had, it packs that down a little bit. Makes it a little bit easier to get out if you happen to get inside there.
Kaz grew up doing a little endurance racing with his dad and learned on the road courses a lot about speed and control, and running a stock car on these road courses is something entirely different.
Yeah, it looked like he got in there a little hot. He actually got off of the race course there with the left side tires and then completely got off into the sand trap. But headed back to the garage area.
And that's one of the hardest braking zones there is around this racetrack, DJ, because it's called Canada Corner, where you basically, I'm trying not to get hit by Justin Allgaier here in the garage, you basically come down that long straightaway where there's walls on both sides, there's trees creating shadows, it makes it feel like you're going 1,000 miles an hour, and then you have to start braking before Canada Corner right before you even see it, right as you come around that corner, and just as you peek and see that corner, or maybe even before it, you have to be nailing the brake. So it's really easy to overdrive, because if you wait till you fully see it, then you've overdriven and you're going off like Kaz did there.
Good look now at Catherine Legg in the 15 car for Johnny Davis Motorsports. Talked with this group at Bristol, Paul Clapperud, the crew chief, and the rest of them about their experience with her at Mid-Ohio. And they said not only was she great behind the wheel, she had us laughing, and we had a great time at Mid-Ohio. Couldn't wait to get to Road America.
She did an outstanding job for the majority of the race. Got into a few little things later in the race, but she really was outstanding, and you can tell just how talented she is.
And the motor failure, by the way, was not a misshift on her part. They confirmed that for me. There was something else going on with the motor there, so she was clean all the way through. And in fact, the car was quite a bit out of control in practice the day before, and Paul said, I couldn't sleep all night. I was thinking, what have I done to that race car, or could I do to help her get through it better? And I believe it was a lowering of the chain on the rear end, DJ, that he said to me, gave that car, and you tell me, more travel when she got into the braking zone, so it didn't wheel hop as much?
Yeah.
And it solved the problem. It was like a light switch went on, and he said, you're going to like this in qualifying. And she said, yes, I did.
Yeah, she went out there, and I think it was like 21st or something like that in her qualifying effort. So did a really nice job. And again, was impressive in the race. I mean, figured out ways just like that right there. You know, I know we're in practice here, but figuring out the way, how do I pass? Where do I pass with these stock cars, and understand the braking points? And you can see here that she's carrying a lot of speed.
Off track for Brian Henderson. And he'll get it back on. Let's see what happened. Canada corner again, DJ.
Yeah, it seems to be the trouble spot. Parker was telling us how difficult that is, and late braking once again, and by the time you get to that point in time, there's no downshifting or amount of braking that you're going to do that's going to keep you out of that gravel trap. Just try to minimize the damage and go back at it.
I saw Brian in a Xfinity Series car at Watkins Glen. Glad to see him back on board. He'll remember that, file it away, and try to hit Canada corner a little better next time. And now compressed air, the best friend that the crew has inside the garage there.
Exactly right.
Blow all those stones out from underneath before they send him back out. This guy will be fun to watch. Andy Lally has driven just about everything, anywhere in the world. And a couple of years ago came here in Mario Gosselin's car and gave it a terrific ride. Not his first time in NASCAR, of course, but
no,
good to have him back.
Yeah, gosh, he does such a good job. He is just so talented with this.
Former Rookie of the Year in the Cup Series when he ran full-time with Kevin Buckler and that burgeoning team. And Andy right now is in the GTD division of the WeatherTech Sports Car Series. Should have mentioned that for Catherine, too, because she's in third place. Actually, there's a tie for first, and she's the next car back. And she is within reach of that championship if she can get there. Andy's in that same division. So is Justin Marks, who we expect to see on track soon, or he has been on track, actually, sixth fastest. All right, Dale, is the headline going to start with this young man's name come Sunday morning?
Yep, very well could be. I mean, that drive he had at Mid-Ohio, he did everything right as a driver. He got beat on some different strategy that, you know, Justin Allgaier came with some better tires and did things right. And but what a great race he drove there. And, you know, he's definitely the favorite this weekend in this 22 car.
Will be crew chief by Jeremy Bullins from the Cup Series. We'll get into that a little bit later. Meanwhile, hottest driver on the circuit this year, Christopher Bell in the 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Proved he can do very well on the road courses at both Watkins Glen and Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, he's probably be glad we get through with this race tomorrow afternoon. Uh-oh, got some cars turned around here.
The aforementioned Legg, it looks like, and Tyler Reddick.
Cars going everywhere.
James French in the 55. There goes Brendan Gaughan. This is from one of the, maybe the second highest speed portion of the track, down into a 90-degree left-hander.
Yeah, you can make time there, and it's one of the places that you can make a pass, out-braking, getting yourself down in, but it's also where we see a lot of cars turned around just like that throughout the race.
You see, one thing that's interesting is the guys can spin here in practice, and there's no full course yellow because there's so much room on the racetrack that NASCAR doesn't have to throw a full course yellow right now, and that's a big factor in the race, is keeping the car on the racetrack. And not if you spin, NASCAR may not throw the caution. You'll just lose that time and not get to come put tires on and catch up to the field.
That's a good point, Landon. Like to keep it moving if they can. A little damage there on Tyler Reddick's car, it looks like.
Yeah, it looked like it might have been an attempt to make an inside pass and caught the right front on the left rear maybe of the 15 car. That'd be what I would guess.
Left 15 car is right behind here. Let's see if we can
see a little smoke there.
Yep.
That might just be
in front of the wheel well maybe on Catherine Legg's car. Yep, pushed in for sure. We were talking about international signals earlier. Catherine riding next to Tyler here, maybe one of those, Dale.
Yep. Justin Allgaier not very happy about having to slow his lap down there.
And now you can see the damage on the 15.
Yeah,
pretty well.
Sure.
Guys, this has kind of been a trend for this 9 car, and not a good one throughout the season, is finding ways to damage that thing in practice. So I think, we saw Tyler went off in the first practice in the rain and damaged the splitter a little bit, and he felt like, okay, we got away with that one, that's all right. But now to have that much damage again, I mean, that's frustration for this race team.
It's a hard call sometimes, Dale, to woe him down or pick him up. You'd rather have to woe him down, I think a lot of owners say, but...
Yeah, but it comes a time whenever you have to back up. The crew can't keep, you're losing time by them having to work on this car. So, I understand you want to go as fast as you can, but there's no sense in putting yourself in a position with another car in particular on the road course here just in practice this afternoon.
Bill Elliott, the 23 this weekend. So when you're a Hall of Famer, there are opportunities to return to your sport. Here are some famous ones. Howe, Lafleur, Lemieux in the NHL. Of course, Joe Gibbs came back to coach after he had retired. Martina came back and won. And I don't follow the MMA, Dale. You have to help me out. But he made the list. Apparently, he was very good at it and came back and got back in the ring.
That's quite a list there, but it's just something you don't see in this sport because, as to be into the Hall of Fame, it used to be a 5-year wait, and I think that's the rules have changed a little bit, but there's still a wait, and generally drivers are finished with their careers and racing by the time that you're voted in, but Bill couldn't pass up this. It sounds like Chase just kind of put him in the car, so he wasn't going to turn it down.
But they weren't going to put him in a position that he wasn't comfortable with. And
sure.
Bill has been racing.
Yeah.
And that's to be noted. He's been racing vintage cars. He raced the Pikes Peak Hill Climb earlier this year. So he's had some seat time recently and felt as if he could make a good showing.
And every Xfinity driver that you've heard talk about this since this was announced has talked about the thrill it is to be on the racetrack with Bill Elliott. Because so many of these guys weren't even thinking about driving a race car whenever Bill Elliott was the most popular driver for 50 years in a row and winning races and championships. And so this is just great to have him there and being on the road course with him this weekend.
Hitting all his marks very well.
Bill, I know these drivers are excited to be on the track with Bill, but I can tell you what he's capable of with aggression, because in one of my first Cup starts as a driver, he started right behind me at Michigan. And he blasted me in the rear bumper coming to the green all the way down into turn 1. I had no choice but to get out of his way and let him go.
Dale,
hey,
that as well?
I'm going to tell you, don't let that nice southern drawl that Bill has fool you into thinking that there's not a huge competitor in that body, because he was very fair on the racetrack, but when he's ready to go, he's ready to go. And yeah, I've been on that side of it too, Len, for sure.
Down to turn 1, top speed. Now there it is, just in front of the left wheel. And they're going to have to go to work on that. That's pretty heavy contact there, Parker.
Yeah.
Right, Dave, and I just caught up with Elkhart Lake here. And first of all, what happened out there? We're seeing all this damage.
Yeah, it's disappointing. You know, I had a really good car thanks to the JD Motorsport guys, but somebody just drove. I went wide in 5, and somebody just used me as a brake and slammed into me. So, hey, welcome to NASCAR.
Is that like an introduction, I guess, of sorts? You know, full contact racing?
I guess. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, if he was thinking, but, you know, it's racing. It happens.
So I'm going to let you in on a secret. Yeah. It was the 9 car of Tyler Reddick.
It was the 9 car? Okay. Yeah, he and I will be having words. Is he one of the good guys or no? I don't know this yet.
He's a good guy. I think he'll at least apologize, hopefully.
Yeah, he better.
All right, guys. We'll leave her a little bit of time to maybe go find Tyler Reddick and see if he'll apologize.
I see her crew chief Paul back there with a hammer in his hand. That's for the car. He's, I'm sure, upset with Tyler, but it is one of the things you encounter in NASCAR, although it sounds like Tyler might have just overcooked it there a bit much. Yep. Not there, Paul. Left rear quarter. I remember James Davison, the first time he raced, was quoted afterwards as saying, "I was biffed and barged and welcomed to NASCAR." So.
Well, it's going to happen, you know, but you expect it to happen in the race tomorrow. You know, you don't expect something like this. I mean, that's a lot of damage that's got to be repaired before she can go back out and make some more laps. So this is, you know, costing her time.
That's right.
On the racetrack, too.
Would have been track time for Elkhart Lake. Matt Tifft. So, Dale, he's been on your radar on road courses. He was on your radar again this week. He was obviously on everybody's radar last year because he was leading the race with 2 laps to go.
Yeah. He just really is solid. You know, we saw him at Mid-Ohio lose some track position and then work his way back up and have a solid race with some strategy towards the end. You know, had a good solid effort there. And as you said, was in position, did everything right here last year to win this race. So I just feel like that, you know, it's like another really good opportunity for him to show exactly what he can do with these skills that he has on the road course.
We will follow Matt around the 4-mile Road America. There you get an idea of just the grandeur of this course. That was the carousel, long right-hand turn. This is the kink, very fast right-hander. Down through an area they call Kettle Bottoms on the way to Canada Corner, which has been a tragic corner for a couple of drivers today.
It's definitely been a challenge. As Parker's pointing out there, as you come around the corner, you're really not seeing the braking area. So you really have to anticipate. And I can only imagine being in traffic in race conditions, just how much more difficult that corner becomes.
This is where the lead was taken for him last year. Clements got inside. They both spun. Clements got going first and drove away. So, Calamity Corner, Canada Corner this afternoon. Reddick in first practice.
Yeah, well, it's hard enough in the drives we've seen, which we'll see right here. Cascarella getting off.
And then finally Brian Henderson. Yeah, you're going to say no. Whether you race it virtually or in reality, it's a tough one.
Yeah, that Canada Corner is kind of rough going into through the braking zone, and I struggled there the last time I raced here with wheel hop issues on that side of the track, and you're so far away, like Parker described earlier. You've got trees on both sides. The sense of speed is very high. So for me as a driver, I have to pick a point on the racetrack that I just know that I can't go past. And I know that if I always brake before that point, that I'm not going to have wheel hop issues in the Canada corner.
And Landon, you described wheel hop. Well, how do we fix that, right? So we drivers talk about this all the time. Wheel hop, wheel hop, wheel hop, like it's sent down to us from a magical wheel hop god. Well, the way it comes about is that you've obviously have too much rear brake at times. Well, what do we do inside these cars sometimes to fix that? We have what's called a brake lever. If you look down here on Ryan Reed's car, right where it says diabetes and Lily right there, you see that little lever? That's all the way down to the forward. So what that means is he has a brake lever inside this car that's different than the brake bias. And what it does is if you push it all the way forward like that, it cuts off braking power to the rear wheels. And so we use it as an extra tool on the braking system, aside from the brake bias, which moves kind of where how much the brake goes, or how much we allow the rears to brake compared to the fronts. And this, we actually cut off the braking power to the rears with that lever, and therefore stopping wheel hop. So it's kind of a tool that we have, and right there you see Ryan Reed obviously feels like he needs a lot of front brake because he has that thing jammed to the front. But I think some drivers you'll find will maybe play with that a little bit more and actually change it sometimes over the course of the lap, Landon, which I know I talked with you about, is actually changing that thing from corner to corner.
Yeah, that is not a static device that you change once or twice in a race. At Watkins Glen, the last time I had one of those things, I changed it 4 times every lap. I basically was touching that lever almost as much as I was touching my shifter.
So, but Parker, hey, let me ask one question. I know you and Landon described for us, I think it was after Watkins Glen, how if you're wheel hopping, there are some fail-safe ways you can keep it from doing that. One is clutching it. The other is taking it out of gear. You can't hit that thing in the middle of wheel hop, can you?
Oh, no, you cannot. So that's a good point. This is something you do before you start braking with that lever. Now, you mentioned the ways we get out of it. Some start slapping the gas pedal, like just what I do as you're braking, to kind of break the rear end from that hop. Some put in the clutch. There's another move that some drivers use, and then there's another move which we saw Chase Elliott use to great effect to win that race at Watkins Glen, which is actually knocking the car into neutral, which releases the rear end from the driveline and therefore allows it to calm down. He made it through the corner, put it back in gear, and drove away.
Yeah, Parker, I felt like in our little case study in the simulator, we discovered a couple things. Number one, I think that Chase Elliott's technique of kicking it in neutral was probably the hardest technique to execute properly without losing a lot of time. And the second thing that we discovered, or maybe I discovered, is when you asked, Landon, how do you fix wheel hop? I said, well, I can't even think about it. I'm not really sure how I do it. And when I hopped in the simulator, my muscle memory natural reaction said, oh, okay, I blip the throttle. That's what I do. When I got the car wheel hopping, what I do with my right foot is I blip the throttle as fast as I can a number of times to get the RPMs back up, get the tires moving, and that gets the rear tires to regain their grip.
Hey, both of you guys, put yourself in the position then of thinking about that. You're making laps and that happened, but put yourself in a position that Chase Elliott was in at Watkins Glen, the last lap of the race to win his first Cup race, and he goes down into the first corner, and he's gotten a bigger lead, and all of a sudden he's in a position trying not to spin out and make look really bad in trying to win that first race.
DJ, that is a great point, and as Landon said, we discovered it to be one of the hardest things to do, and do it well and do it right. And the other part is not only getting it out of gear into neutral, because once you're in neutral, then slowing the car down means you're only going to have the brakes to slow it down. You no longer have the RPMs and the engine braking working for you. But then as you get through the corner and say you come out the other side, you have to get the car back into gear. And that was really difficult. Landon and I had trouble with that in the simulator. So what he was able to pull off there was really incredible. And you add in the fact that he's going for his first win. I mean, that was just a stunning move. And, I hate to say it was incredible, I guess, because in a lot of ways it was a mistake that led to him making an incredible move. But he did recover from that really well.
So tense watching Chase Elliott win his first race with Truex hot on his tail, eventually running out of fuel, but really just on him the entire last couple of laps. His dad Bill in the spotter stand for him that day and welcomed him in victory lane. Chase is going to return the favor this weekend, by the way, and he's going to be helping spot for dad Bill DJ mentioned in first practice, usually 4 or 5 spotters used on the course, and Chase Elliott will be one of those. We also noted that Ryan Blaney is in town, and he's going to be helping spot for Austin Cindric. So, a little all-star crew out there on the grounds.
Oh, for sure.
This is Brandon Jones. He's done nicely for himself on the road courses. Not the discipline he grew up with, but driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, you're always going to have a good piece of equipment to take right and left.
Yeah, good equipment. And, one thing that Brandon Jones is good at, and that's attacking a racetrack. And, you have to do that on these road courses. Can it get you in a little trouble at times? Yeah, it can. But for the most part, he's learned to temper that a little bit and has done a really, really good job.
Trans Am Series is here this weekend, along with the Stadium Super Trucks and NASCAR in the Xfinity Series. And Jones, when they were at Mid-Ohio, took the opportunity to get a ride in one of those cars. That helped him a great deal. He said this weekend there will be 5 drivers, 4 others, including Jones, taking to the TA2 division of Trans Am. Ty Majeski will be in one. Tyler Reddick will be in a car as well. Matt Tift and Christopher Bell, along with Brandon Jones. So getting the seat time, Dale, and getting that rhythm down is pretty important.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're driving. It's just about getting repetitions and understanding the speed that you can carry through. Obviously, those cars are different as far as power, tires, everything else, but you're getting that time, and that time in shifting, whatever it is that you're doing, just getting that time, because these young drivers don't get many opportunities. And the other side of it, they don't get to go test at road courses. So that really makes it the opportunity for them to learn. You're putting it down here. They expected to have 2 practices. Now they're down to just 1 practice because of the weather in that first session. So, having an opportunity to make more laps is certainly beneficial.
Good look at Alex Labbe from Quebec on track now. So far this session, Alex has run 5 laps. Again, that doesn't sound like very many, but that's 20 miles.
Yes, it is.
Worth of road course racing at Road America. And let's see, the quick math on 14 turns.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 70 turns. So.
And the 2 drivers that you look at right now that have made the most laps out here, both rookies at this track, Connor Daly, and then one that's a rookie, but he's a Hall of Famer, in Bill Elliott. They both made 10 laps around here.
Yeah, a little left front lock up there. His sponsor, by the way, Snow Removal Equipment. Now, I'm not talking about the snowblower that, the Burns family might have. I'm talking about airport-sized snow removal equipment. Yeah, the Jarrett compound might have.
Yeah, right. And can come in handy up in the Milwaukee area.
Yeah, for sure.
Up there.
What's up, Parker?
Well, guys, I'm down here near Connor Daly's car, and I just noticed, as you said, he had done 10 laps out there, so some of the most we've seen. They just put new tires on this car. So I think this is an important moment for Connor. I'm real good friends with Connor, and he's been talking to me about this race and getting ready for it, preparing for it, and filling out these cars. But I think this is an important moment for him because, you get that first taste on that first set of tires, right? And you kind of get through the good and realize, oh, man, there was so much more grip out there, so much more speed. And then as the tire wears off, you don't really get to show the things you're learning on the speed chart because the tire isn't there for you to go very fast. But now, putting on a new set of tires and knowing all the things he just learned over those 10 laps, now you see if you can execute that and really put that speed out there. So this is an important run for him.
Yeah, so he's got just over 30 minutes left here. So a good move to give him, he's had this feel now, but he needs to feel what new tires are like as he goes to, and not that he's going to be making a qualifying attempt, but how much more grip, much more aggressive can he be now that he's picked things up? I mean, he's run a pretty good lap. He's 22nd on the chart, so be interested to see how much from that time that he set there, knowing what he has, that he can be more aggressive now, how much does he pick up?
Big announcement this week. Ross Chastain, who is already in position to make the playoffs, has a 42-point cushion over the next driver, Michael Annett, which you can see right here. He signed with Chip Ganassi Racing. Unfortunately, John Hunter Nemechek had some races that he could not get funded that he was signed up for, and that's Ty Majeski stopped on track in the 60 in the wrong way. And Chastain was able to put a deal together and get a couple of races in that 42 car, which has won and is very good. And a couple of those races will happen before the playoffs, Dale. Insurance.
How cool is this that he's getting that opportunity? And we talk about him pretty much every week of taking a car and equipment that's not very heavily funded, but doing an outstanding job sitting there. You know, this isn't about the playoffs. This is more, as we watch, you can see just got the right rear off as he's trying to arc into the corner a little bit too much there and spun around. But back to Ross Chastain, just, you know, the effort that he's put forth, and now he's being rewarded with the opportunity in a really good car to showcase his talents even more. So, you know, I'm sure that he's very appreciative of that opportunity. And again, yeah, he wants to make the playoffs, but his focus is going to be, hey, I've got a car and equipment now that I can see and show everybody that I can run up front in the right situation.
And it doesn't matter which car Ross earns the points in for the playoffs, you know, same as Austin Cindric, who's been in 3 different cars, but it is in position to make the playoffs. He's going to follow Justin Marks here and get some ideas. Dale, what do you think?
Well, it's that 42 that he'll be driving. Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Not on a road course, but get used to the number.
And Ross was clear in pointing out also that him stepping out of the Ford does not hurt Johnny Davis in terms of the owners' playoffs.
Right.
And he was not in position for that anyway. So
I like this idea right here, though. Hey, find a good road racer out there and find out, you know, what they're doing to get around here. Justin Marks 6th on the speed chart. Ross is back in 14th right now. So let's go see exactly what he's got. What's he doing? Where am I losing time? Where can I make some better time? He's hanging right with him now. Uh-oh.
Trouble for Allgaier. That is in turn 5 again, Dale.
Yeah.
Pointing back toward where the cars will be coming from. Oh, no, there he is, in the runoff area.
Yeah, very fast corner. We talked about that, going down the long straightaway and to a corner that you don't see. Parker was pointing this out the other day as he was in our NBC simulator. Let's ride along with him and see exactly how this all transpired. Up. Yeah, you can see that was going bad. There's your wheel hop. You can tell he either kicked it out of gear or kicked the clutch in to keep it from spinning completely out. So that's a nice job. Problem is, that was hard wheel hopping, and that can tear up some things. The rear end gear and the transmission in that situation, and all that drivetrain can be damaged in a situation when you start wheel hopping that hard. Parker?
Yeah, Dale, I always have made it a habit to notify my team when I do a wheel hop, and typically after practice what they'll do is they'll take all the axles out, take all the gears out and everything, and just take a look at it to make sure there aren't any stress fractures or any excessive wear from wheel hopping in practice.
Hey, Landon, I just want to jump in and talk about the car that's on the screen. That's Bill Elliott, Hall of Famer. I can't believe I'm talking about him on broadcast, reporting about Bill Elliott right here, but I want to tell you guys that he's heading out on new tires. And why can he and Connor Daly have another set as opposed to maybe someone like Justin Allgaier, who's probably going to only have 2 sets in this practice? Well, the 23 and the 6 are going to have 3 sets because he's a rookie, and he has a rookie set of tires to use. So we're going to see Bill Elliott go here on new tires. They also taped up the brake ducts a little bit because unusually they were a little too cold. He wasn't getting enough brake heat in those things, so they get a little more downforce on the front end of that car and see if he can find a little more speed inside it.
This will be the 11th lap for Bill. Thanks, Parker. And Landon.
And you can sometimes, especially somebody, Bill Elliott is going to be one that's really good as far as not overusing the brake and letting the car roll. But you talk about this 4-mile road course, so you've got a lot of area that you're running that these brakes can cool off down these straightaways. So if they get too cool, then as you go to use them and they're cooled off, then you get a lot of different feelings and it'll start grabbing, and it's a bad feel. So if you can keep a little bit of heat in them, they're going to perform at a lot better rate.
Spencer Boyd now following the Hall of Famer in his 76 car. There was interesting news this week. A couple of suspensions, including Boyd's crew chief, Jason Miller, who was suspended 3 races for 3 loose lug nuts at Bristol last week. But they had a plan. Guess what? Older brother Johnny Miller is the car chief on the car, so he's now the crew chief, and actually just joined Spencer's team about a month ago. Came down from racing in Indiana and decided to be a part of SS Greenlight Racing. And oh, by the way, you're promoted. You're now the crew chief. So let's see what Spencer can learn from a Hall of Famer. Of course, Bill's been very open. He said, I'm probably going to learn a lot from these kids. They're doing this every week.
Yeah.
And Bill hasn't been in a National Series race since 2012.
Yeah, and these cars drive completely different than what he was driving then.
Really? Yeah, you say that. And
no, yeah, I mean, the aerodynamics are different. The things that they do with the chassis, the tires are even different. So there's a lot for Bill to take in. You know, he's great, a Hall of Famer, but you know, there's still things that he's going to be learning throughout the rest of this afternoon, through qualifying tomorrow, and even to the last lap of tomorrow's race.
Put some distance on Spencer there. This 23 car is a very, very good car. Mike Beam, the president over at GMS Racing, and that group have put together a lot of good rides this year. Chase Elliott has driven this car, and of course Spencer Gallagher with a win at Talladega. So there's a lot of speed and knowledge at GMS Racing.
Yeah, his fast lap's been 217.9. So let's see with the field. Just as we talked about with Connor Daly, actually picked his up to 12th spot. So he went from in that 217 range, knocked a couple of seconds off of that.
With the fresh tires.
Yes. Fresh tires and a little more knowledge.
That's right.
It's a good combination.
I could use the latter on a daily basis. There's Brendan Gaughan. Landon?
I spoke with Brendan before practice and his crew chief, Nick Harrison, a former crew chief of myself. And one thing they're really excited about this weekend are their brake package. Brendan has said that he feels like these RCR cars that he's driven have the best braking systems of any car he's driven in the past. But what he had at Mid-Ohio was not what he wanted. So he asked them to take the package back to what he was used to running at RCR, which is a little bit different pedal, a little bit more feel for the driver in the pedal, not as much stiffness as what he had at Mid-Ohio, and a different master cylinder setup so that he can manage that wheel hop that we talked about earlier. So Brendan, going to a racetrack now here at Road America where the braking zones are so important, as you see him, kind of chopping that entry, practicing his braking zone there. Going to a racetrack where the braking zones are so important, I think a guy like him that really has that kind of confidence in his feel is a good advantage going into the race tomorrow. So,
Landon, as you were talking to him, how were his tendencies and preferences compared to yours?
He explained to me that his braking technique was less, not so much initial pressure, but sort of a maybe 60% initial pressure and then to your 100% pressure. My braking technique at these racetracks is more of 100% initial pressure where it tapers off, and that actually kind of helped me as a driver talking to him about that, because I think that 100% initial pressure is maybe where I can have wheel hop issues. So I might be having a debrief with Brendan Gaughan after this weekend.
That's very interesting, very interesting. And technique definitely makes them do different things with those brake packages like he was talking about.
Yeah, and Brendan, in doing that and not giving as much on the brake, he will probably downshift at that time too to get the engine. A lot of the drivers now don't utilize the engine in shifting gears to use that to help slow their car down. They want to do it more with the brake in that field, and that's fine if that's your technique. But I think Brendan came along at a time that you use the engine somewhat, the downshifting and the RPM change to help slow the car down to where you're not utilizing the brake as much in that respect. And so he can go to that 60, and then if he needs to give it a little bit more, he's got that little bit of extra.
Yeah, and I think, Dale, what he's doing right that helps manage the wheel hop is by giving it an initial brake pressure and then going to the 100%. It doesn't shock the system. It doesn't, we have these solid rear axle, old kind of old school type rear end housings in these cars, and if you really shock the system, that's where it can break the contact patch of the tire and cause that wheel hop.
Yeah, good point.
2014 winner here at Road America. That was his first, That was his second, his first win. Kentucky was after that? I think Kentucky was after that same year.
Right, yeah, that was the first win.
And that was a big moment in victory lane. 4 top 5s here, leads all drivers. So he can get around here pretty well, especially when the brakes are right.
Yeah, he had some rain that day that helped him, in his words, that he loved to race in the rain, and did an outstanding job. Even running as the track dried out, still on the rain tires, so he had to really battle and fight to get that first win.
By the way, the weather forecast for tomorrow, we've been talking a little bit about, hey, hang on there. Got a little wiggly. Just 20% now on my weather app. I don't know what it says on Parker's, because on Parker's weather app, it was not supposed to rain today. No chance whatsoever. And then it downpoured before first practice ever got started. So mine says 20% tomorrow. I think it's going to be a mostly dry day.
I think somebody gave Parker some bad information.
Well, hold on. No, wait a second. No, so they have, there's many people discarding my app, all right, this weather app. And I want to say that it normally finds the rain when it's raining. So it did say it was raining once it started raining. So, it caught up to itself. It was just a little behind in predictive analysis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of smarts
it's
there.
It's a good app for you.
Is this your app right here?
Oh, yes. That's perfect.
It's like the weather
there you
rock.
Go. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, guys, it's getting windy. Grab that thing. Okay, cool. My app would then tell you it's windy after everything blew away.
This was earlier at Road America. The rains moved through very quickly, but got the track completely wet. Only 2 drivers took to the track on rain tires. The great thing about Road America, 640 acres. There are so many great venues to view from, Dale, and bring your food and your drink and your family and your pop-up tent if you need it, and just enjoy.
Yeah, it literally is an event. It's a happening for this place. There's so much history here. Fans love it. They've got their special spots that they love to come to. Most of them come for every event that they have here and have been doing that for years. And there's just so many good vantage points that you can go to and enjoy this weekend.
Again, final practice winding down. 18 minutes remaining. You see in the upper left. Most laps run so far, 14 by Connor Daly. Bill Elliott's right behind him, 13. And Spencer Boyd, who we saw earlier in the 76, up to 12 laps. Allgaier is still the fastest. There's Spencer, and now off speed. Not off track. Hopefully he didn't get there.
I don't know. He hadn't run enough laps to be out of fuel yet. I wouldn't think.
You don't know how much was in there to start, do you?
That's exactly right. That's why I held back there for a minute.
Mr. Obvious here. I'm right with you.
Well, I was assuming that they would have started with a full tank.
Back to my preferences. I prefer to start with a full tank most times.
That's right. Watch out. Bad spot to be right there.
Corner exit.
This is probably going to bring out a full course caution here.
I want to say that's out of the carousel.
No.
Yep, he's going to get off the good line there. So as Spencer Boyd pulls off, the red flag will come out. Justin Allgaier has had the fast lap of the session. Cole Custer, Austin Cindric, second and third in single lap times. And only Daly and Elliott have taken 5 consecutive laps. Once again, looking at the length of Road America in that way. One lap can tell you a lot about your race car if you want to changed.
Yeah, you can actually make it a lap. If you get up to speed right out of the pits, then you've got a lot of corners that you can go through and getting a feel for your car, and then another full lap around, and then you to make it back to the pits, you make pretty much another full lap to make that happen. So you can get a lot of corners in and understand your car without putting as many laps up on the board, is what it might say.
Appreciate you pulling us up on the app this afternoon. Tomorrow, you will be able to see the following on NBCSN. Qualifying for the Xfinity Series starting at 12:30. And then we get to the countdown to green at 2:30, followed by the race at 3. And IndyCar racing from Gateway, the nightcap. And, of course, Lucas Oil Drag Boat Racing, middle of the afternoon, too. DJ, set your DVR.
Oh, lots of racing there. Yep.
Of course, the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series carrying the load this weekend. The Cup Series is off. Trucks will be at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on Sunday. So they'll get rolling tomorrow, but you'll see all the action from Road America right here on NBCSN tomorrow.
Yep, and the Cup cars will be back at Darlington for 12 straight weeks. Got 2 more weeks before the playoffs.
Playoffs are coming for
the Cup side.
The Cup side. On this side, 4 races remaining, and quite a diverse track lineup.
Yeah.
Road America, Darlington, Indy, and Vegas. That'll be the play-in race, if you will. So the points look right now. Bell with his 4 wins stands alone at top, but not far behind Justin Allgaier, the big 2
yes.
in the Xfinity Series.
Tyler Reddick with that win at Daytona locked himself in. Of course, you got quite a few that here shortly are going to get locked in because of the points that they have amassed here.
Well, we see the points on the right-hand side there. The regular season points.
Yes.
There's still a toss-up up at the top.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting to see who gets that 15-point regular season bonus. ARC cars lined up to head back onto the track once the red flag is lifted. Trying to get Spencer Boyd's car still moved off the racetrack.
Yeah, you know, you've got Elliott Sadler and Cole Custer and Daniel Hemrick all still there battling for that regular season points championship. They know how big those 15 playoff points for winning the regular season could be for them. Obviously, not having wins yet, you know, they haven't had the good fortune of getting those 5 playoff points. See Bell up there with 24. How valuable could those things be? So, you know, still that battle. And this is a place with cars that finish on the lead lap having just the wrong thing happen at the wrong time of the race, especially at the end, just having a flat tire. You might have had an outstanding day until that, or getting spun out on the last lap, something like that, that could take you and have a huge point swing.
We mentioned the diversity of tracks before the playoffs start. Can't get much different than those 4.
No. You know, before we ran Bristol last week and you threw in the half mile right there, you know, you see, but you can see just how different these 4 are. I mean, they are so totally different. There's nothing like this 4 mile. There's absolutely nothing like racing at Darlington. Indianapolis is a world famous racetrack of its very own with the 4 distinct corners, and then Las Vegas, that 1.5 mile track that it's going to be pretty hot out there, hot and slick.
Awfully quiet down where you are, Parker. In fact, strangely quiet.
It is a little eerie down here, wouldn't you say? And I want to talk about something. It's odd to be in a quiet garage. But, hey, DJ, Landon, myself, we know what it's like kind of jumping in between different race cars and having different setups, different dash setups, that sort of thing. Well, think about Brendan Gaughan, who's not racing full-time for RCR this year. As we know, he joined us at the Iowa broadcast race here. So I want to show you what his team over here on the 3 has done. So we always see the track map that we talk about, right? And the driver will have that inside the car and everything. They got that up here, so they're on the same page. But then below that, they have a photo of his dashboard. And the reason is, all these switches over on the right, they want to make sure that when they're telling him to turn on front brake fans or left front brake fans or rear brake fans, that they're all on the same page. And if they all get confused about which ones do which, they got this little trusty picture here to go back to and say, all right, wait, you the green ones, the red ones, et cetera, et cetera. So I can tell you that's very intuitive and very inventive in a lot of ways, because just recently I was driving the 96 Cup car at Watkins Glen, and I actually got confused about which switches did which, and we had to get out of the car after practice and figure it out. So I think this was a pretty smart idea by the 3 team.
Like that idea. Nothing wrong with having a good printer standing by and a phone to take a picture with.
I thought when we went to 5 switches on my dash, it was a lot to look at.
Would that, I guess I can ask all of y'all, would that change at all from road course to oval, or are they generally the same?
No, I think, definitely. And especially with all of those switches you're talking about with the brakes. Because, you know, you go to a place like Las Vegas where you're not going to be using a lot of brake. You know, you basically have the brake ducts taped up there or don't even have any in the front at a situation like that. So yes, short tracks, road courses, the tracks are all quite different in a lot of different ways, and that would be another way.
Green is back out at Road America. You're on board with Justin Allgaier. You are a bug on his right front fender.
He's just getting back out. You can tell there that he wasn't all the way in the gas tank, just trying to give himself a little distance to the car in front of him. So as he comes around and gets ready to get up to speed to make his lap, then he's not going to run up on this car, hopefully. I guess if you did, it'd make you feel good that you're that much faster.
Depends on who it is.
That's the next point. That is the corner, so.
I think that's Brandon Jones up ahead of him in the 19. Jones early, he'd like to get around.
Yeah, just, a lot of times you get completely over. Why would you give so much room over there? Well, if you can get completely out of sight of that driver, of where his mirror will go, then without his spotter telling him, a lot of times drivers will give you that, and especially in practice, they're going to give you that. Now, tomorrow afternoon, late in the race, that might have been a different story right there.
Oh, that passing zone, we've seen 3 wide and the grass.
Yes.
And it hasn't always worked out.
No, seldom doesn't work out.
Turn 5, turn left.
This is where Justin Allgaier got in a little hot last time that he was out.
Very smooth there. Lefty 6, and then a quick up through the gears, downhill, bend right 7, then 8. Eight takes you to the carousel. Now let's ride with him and see how quick he goes around this long right-hander. Just waiting for the grip to take off the exit there.
You can see, just has to play with the throttle. He's really not using brake through that carousel. It's just more with the throttle of getting your car and trying to get it turned and make sure that you've got the back end under to get to that point that you can be wide open.
Up to the 170 mark, gets around Garrett Smithley, who's only on his 4th lap of the session. And coming up behind, James Davison. Could be interesting to follow.
Yeah, very talented on these road courses. Has found some trouble along the way, which is going to happen with somebody new in these type of cars and doesn't get to do it on a regular basis. But when we've seen him in the front, been very, very fast.
Yeah, as we're closing in on 6.5 minutes left in final practice here, pretty much the majority of the teams in the garage are making their final push to put new tires on their car and make a 5 or 6 lap run here and see what they've got. As you see, these lap times are starting to jump up the leaderboard. You had some of the top guys on the leaderboard. Their fastest lap was a 2:13.5 second lap, and then they were falling off to almost 4 seconds from that. And now that they put new tires back on the cars, You got Matt Tiff just went to second on the board with a 2:13.80. So they're kind of getting to see what these new tires are going to do for their cars in the race and make that last 5-minute push with their final adjustment to get this thing ready for the race.
Yeah, we'll probably even see a few go out and put tires on or at least tape up a little bit and go try to make a one-lap effort for their qualifying if they've gotten everything done. Justin Marks just at the quickest time, first one down in the 2:12, just barely under that. Or just barely under 2:13.
Serving notice that he is here and serious about winning again in the Xfinity Series.
Austin Cindric moved up to the second spot.
Here's Justin. Justin went to Cal State and studied sports marketing, and at the same time, he was a factory BMW driver. So, not a bad way to go to school and have a outside job.
Yeah. Yeah, it beats waiting tables, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Washing dishes, no.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying, what a cool
if
job.
You had a choice.
You're having a job while you're going to college. How good is that?
That's right. Justin's an adventurer, an entrepreneur. He's got a lot of things going. A dad, you know.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of things going on. Loves to get in this 42 car when he can. Through the kink and yeah.
Whoa. Getting it done.
Ty Majeski right behind him in the 60 car this weekend for Roush Fenway. Majeski, one of a couple of Wisconsin drivers who will have some local support, no doubt, come Saturday afternoon.
Now you could see the difference right there where Ty Majeski tried to get back in the throttle, got his car a little bit sideways. Justin Marks did a great job of setting his car up, driving it straighter off, and put a little distance between them.
Keeping your eye on Bill and his new tires?
He went just a little bit faster, but really it was very marginal is what he did.
Jeremy Clements back on track.
DJ?
White car getting by him. Go ahead.
Well, guys, and just to butt in there, sorry to cut you off, what you're seeing Bill do right there is he's actually taking it slowly because he's on his last set of new tires. This is the rookie set, so this is the third set that these guys have. They're going to see if they can put down a good lap here. They did a little track bar adjustment. He's been a little tight inside that 23 car, but maybe we'll see what kind of speed he has this time around.
I'd say being a little on the tight side is a better place to be than sending Bill out there sideways.
Too free. Yeah. Clements, by the way, back on track after repairs when his left front was down following a turn 5 incident. Only has 3 laps, completing 4 now. So last year's winner hoping to get a 5th lap down now. Get some more track time before the session ends in 2.5. Casgrala, earlier incident in the 61. He's rolling again. Cas has the 16th quickest time. Chasing down the Hall of Famer. Bill, by the way, is not entered in the Trans Am Series this weekend. He did run a TA2 car at Mid-Ohio. As we mentioned, he was part of that group. It's a little bit of a warm-up for this. Sporting a look on the 23, very much like the Junior Johnson 11 he drove.
And we won't be seeing anybody else come out of the garage area. Uh-oh, Ty Majeski again.
He is sitting just outside the kink.
You see, there's a lot of dirt kicked up on the track there.
Doesn't look like he had contact, but that is a high-speed portion to be anywhere near off track.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Man, he is fortunate.
Wow. Did a nice job. Kind of stood in the gas there when he got off track, and that kept him out of the wall. Getting any damage, but that.
And guys, Well, that's the kink. That's one of the fastest corner probably on the racetrack. And, we talked to James Davison earlier in the first practice about Indy cars are flat out through there. And it's in our cars, it's a lift and a tap of the brake, and you're back hard in the throttle in third gear. So I think he's very lucky to get away with no damage from that.
Completely agree. And catches breath, and that's the end of your practice session right there.
I don't know that's the way you want to end a practice session when your next lap will be qualifying.
That's right. That'll be coming up tomorrow on NBCSN. And the session winding down. Just 30 seconds remaining for anybody out there, but I do believe they threw the red.
Yeah, you can see they had the yellow flags out where that was happening, and there was a lot of dirt thrown up on the track, so everybody's pretty much calmed it down and ran into the garage area.
Austin Cindric says, you know what, if you'll let me, for green, we'll go take one more. That is the case. Or not. Well, what did we learn here, Dale? Justin Marks, James Davison, Austin Cindric, your top three in final practice, just barely squeezing out Justin Allgaier in fourth.
Well, I don't see anybody in the top five that surprises me whatsoever. All outstanding road racers.
Cole Custer ended up sixth. Andy Lally only took 2 laps in final practice, and hopefully that's not for mechanical reasons. Simply Andy saying, you know what? I know what I got, and I know what I'm doing.
I put down a couple of fast laps. I'm good to go.
Elliott Sadler was 8th, Daniel Hemrick 9th, and Christopher Bell 10th. Nice job by Hemrick. There's Lally's car. Parker?
Well, guys, we were just talking about that spin for Ty Majeski in the kink. I caught up with him here, so was that as scary from you the inside as it was from the outside? And do you feel lucky not hitting anything there?
Definitely feel lucky. Usually when things go wrong in the kink, it doesn't end up that well. So just got a little bit free there. We're losing lateral grip. I'm new to road course racing, so I'm definitely learning experiences practice session. I've gotten a chance to run some Trans Am stuff this morning, as well as some Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge earlier in the month. But those cars are so much different than these, and just adapting to the heavier cars and the different braking points. And it's been a little bit of a challenge, but everybody at Roush Family Racing has done a great job to give me a good piece this weekend. The drive down A1C.com Ford is really good. Happy to have Lily Diabetes on the car this weekend. It's a special weekend for all of us. I have my grandpa, Ryan, shotgun with me on the door, so it's a special weekend for all of us. Hopefully we can have a good run tomorrow.
That's true. We got it confirmed, guys. He does feel lucky missing stuff there, Landon.
Yeah, thanks, Parker. Just finishing up this final practice, these teams are looking at the weather, they're looking at the balance of their race cars, and they're predicting that, it's still going to be probably overcast and pretty similar tomorrow. The temperature could go up, and if it does, it's going to get even slicker, but these crew chiefs are anticipating that their drivers are going to be complaining about tire fall-off, complaining about forward bite, and preserving their brakes. So the only real big variable there is, does it rain or not?
The big question. My weather app says no, 20% now, but we'll see. That sometimes changes in the overnight hours.
Yeah, weather app. Yeah. We'll see.
Practice is completed. We'll see you here tomorrow, actually, on the app and NBCSN. As the cars wind down there it is, 12:30, Xfinity Series qualifying. Little break with some drag boat racing, and then countdown to green at 2:30. The race, 3 o'clock, and then, of course, stick around for IndyCar racing from Gateway. That will be a thriller as well. We expect to see 45 laps of challenging rights and lefts here, Dale.
Challenging, yes. That's the key, is a lot of shifting, some very high-speed parts of the track. Few opportunities to pass. We'll get that in with Landon, into that more with Landon and Parker tomorrow, because both of those drivers have participated here and understand where these places to pass are, and we're going to see some outstanding racing. It's not very long. It seems not long. 45 laps seems short, but a lot happens in that time.
That's it for us here. For Landon Castle and Parker Kligerman, I'm Dave Burns, Dale Jarrett as well. Appreciate you hanging around with us here on the app. We saw Bill Elliott, the Hall of Famer, jump in. Fast lap for Allgaier. We'll carry a bumper cam for us. Austin Cindric, what does he have? And Ty Majeski twice got very fortunate. We'll see you back here tomorrow on NBCSN 12:30 Eastern. Bye-bye.